For this lesson, we are going to talk about tectonic plates and the three types of plate boundaries and faults. First of all, what are tectonic plates? The word tectonic refers to the deformation of the crust as a consequence of plate interaction, whereas plates are broken sections of the Earth's lithosphere. The Earth's lithosphere is composed of the Earth's crust and upper part of the mantle. To add on, the plates of the lithosphere float on the asthenosphere. The asthenosphere is the plastic layer below the lithosphere. The Earth's crust is divided into 12 major plates which move in various directions. This makes the plates move around on top of the mantle like rafts. The plate motion causes them to collide, pull apart, or scrape against each other. There are two types of plates, which are oceanic plates and continental plates. Oceanic plates are the plates below the ocean, whereas continental plates are the plates below the continents. Did you guys know that the Earth's tectonic plates move very slowly against each other? They move about a few centimeters each year. The movement of these plates are caused by the convection in the underlying hot and viscous mantle. Convection refers to the upward and downward flow of fluid material in response to the heating and cooling. Now let's move on to plate boundaries. They are the fractures that separate one plate from another. There are three types of plate boundaries: divergent boundaries, convergent boundaries, and transform fault boundaries. Divergent boundaries refer to the boundaries between two plates that are moving apart from rifting. Due to this, the asthenosphere moves up. Few examples of formations due to divergent boundaries are rift valleys, fissure volcanoes, and mid-ocean ridges. Another type of plate boundaries is called the convergent boundaries. These are the boundaries located between two tectonic plates that are colliding with each other. Because of the impact that the collision of these plates make, it can cause the edges of one or both plates to buckle up into a mountain ranges, or one of the plates may bend down into a deep seafloor trench. Parallel to convergent boundaries, a chain of volcanoes often forms. Earthquakes are also common along these boundaries. At convergent boundaries, continental crusts are created while oceanic crusts are destroyed. This is because oceanic crusts are often forced down into the mantle where it begins to melt. Magma rises into and through the other plate, solidifying into granite, the rock that makes up the continents. When one or both of the tectonic plates are composed of the oceanic crust, subduction zones occur. The denser plate is subducted underneath the less dense plate. The plate being forced under is eventually melted and destroyed. Now let's go to examples of convergent boundaries. The first situation is where oceanic crust meets an oceanic crust. Island arcs and oceanic trenches occur when both of the plates are made of oceanic crust. Zones of active seafloor spreading can also occur behind the island arc, known as back arc basins. Another situation is where oceanic crust meets a continental crust. The denser oceanic plate is subducted, often forming a mountain range on the continent. And the third situation is where continental crust meets another continental crust. Both continental crusts are too light to subduct, so a continent-continent collision occurs, creating especially large mountain ranges. Then moving on, we have transform fault boundaries. Transform fault boundaries can be found between two plates that are sliding past each other. Thus, structures that cross these types of boundary are split into pieces and carried in opposite directions. Rocks that line the boundary are pulverized as the plates grind along, creating a linear fault valley or undersea canyon. Similar to convergent boundaries, Earthquakes are also common along these faults. In transform fault boundaries, crust is cracked and broken at transform margins, but is not created or destroyed. Type of faults. Boundaries between tectonic plates are made up from a system of faults. Faults are fractures in Earth's crust where rocks on either side of the crack have slid past each other. There are three kinds of faults which are called normal, reverse, and strike slip faults. Each type is the outcome of different forces pushing or pulling on the crust, causing rocks to slide up, down, or past each other. Normal faults. These faults occur when the hanging wall block moves down relative to the footwall block. Two blocks of crust pull apart, stretching the crust into a valley. Reverse faults. Reverse faults occur when the hanging wall block moves up relative to the footwall block. These faults are commonly found in collision zones, where tectonic plates push up mountain ranges such as the Himalayas and the Rocky Mountains. Next, thrust faults. Thrust fault is somewhat similar to reverse faults, but with dips less than 45 degrees. And lastly, strike slip faults. These faults occur when the movement is horizontal and parallel to the trend or strike of the fault surface. Additional information. The fractures along the faults where no appreciable movement have occurred are called joints. The different styles of faulting can also combine in a single event with one fault moving in both a vertical and strike slip motion. These different styles of faulting can also combine in a single event with one fault moving in both a vertical and a strike slip motion during an earthquake. Reverse faults, also called thrust faults, slide one block of crust on top of another. Thank you for joining us to another lesson. See you sometime soon. Bye!